It's fair to say that Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Breakpoint has not lived up to the success of its predecessor, and after many mixed reviews, Ubisoft Paris seem to have realised this and have been updating the game ever since, making some pretty significant changes. In this video, we'll cover all aspects of the most up-to-date version of the game to see whether it's worth buying in 2021. Since release, some huge steps forwards have been made, most prominently the Ghost Experience settings, which allow you to customise virtually everything about the game. Something a lot of people were very happy about was the option to abandon the Battle Royale style of gun tiers, where guns of the same type can have a different gear score, which would make them better or worse. And in the launch version of the game, this meant that you were pretty much forced to use whatever weapon had the better score, narrowing down your tactical options. Now, some may like this feature, and it can add a bit of extra depth to the game as you scour for slightly better versions of the same gun, although for many, that's not what they're buying this game for, so it's nice that you now get the option to turn it off. Multiplayer has also been added in the form of Ghost War. It's not great, and it has been left as a relatively small part of the game, but it's something that has a lot of potential, and since the game is still being updated, I can only see it getting better. The multiplayer format is 4v4 over a variety of pretty decently sized maps, and there's two modes, which are Team Deathmatch and Bomb Diffusion. AI teammates have also been added, although we'll get onto that in a bit.
I hear gunfire.
So let's start with something good, and one of the really good things in Breakpoint is the gunplay. There's loads of weapons to choose from, with everything from snipers to assault rifles and LMGs. On the standard settings, you can carry two main weapons plus a pistol, and all of these are heavily customizable, as you can change everything from attachments to camo. Recoil and gun mechanics are also handled pretty well, with easy and quick to use presets to toggle your silencer, scope and automatic fire. Switching between guns is also clean, and there's enough choice in guns and attachments to feel like you can really personalise your loadout for every situation and playstyle, which I feel like is very important in open world shooters. Another really good thing about Breakpoint is the online co-op feature, whereby up to 3 friends can join you in any of the main missions, and this makes the game a hell of a lot more fun. If however you don't have any friends who play the game, or just don't have any friends at all, then you may want to consider trying the AI teammates feature, which was added relatively recently. You get 3 computer controlled buddies who can revive you if you're down, pick off a few enemies and let you utilise the sync shot mechanic with them. You can completely customise each of your AI teammates, which includes selecting their weapons. You can also give them commands, which they follow, usually, and while they are far from perfect, as they sometimes get stuck, end up all over the place and can be annoying, it's an overall positive addition to the game. That's just about where all the good ends though, as a big problem that I and many others had and still have with this game is how some really key elements just don't fit together. The map, for instance, is really quite good. There's loads of immersive and colourful environments, from dense tropical jungle to snow-topped mountains, and for the size of the map, the graphics are also very solid, although they are nothing special. Now, this map sounds pretty damn good on paper, however it falls apart very quickly when you realise that it's just too big, and while this may seem to be just a small downfall, it has a pretty significant dominoes effect on bringing other aspects of the game down, such as the vehicles. Now, the vehicles in this game are actually incredibly good. There's all sorts of cars, trucks, bikes and helicopters, however due to the size of the map, I found myself very rarely using most of them to go between missions, which is a shame as I feel like it could have been a real highlight. That being said, the vehicles can be a lot of fun and add some decent depth. Another example of this is how many points in the campaign place you in small indoor spaces, and this would be fine if the movement wasn't so clunky. Now, on the whole, movement is good and cover works well outdoors, but trying to move around indoors feels boisterous and annoying, at least on console. This is very apparent when trying to collect intel in inside spaces, and also trying to get into vehicles, although I should reiterate that I've played through this game on a PS4, so I don't know what the experience is like on any other platforms. Yet another example of things not working together are the respawn locations. When you die, you'll respawn up to a few kilometers away, which on a map so large and sparse can be a nightmare if there are no vehicles nearby. In games like this, a good story can make up for other flaws elsewhere in the game, and Breakpoint's story, well, it's not bad. In fact, I'd say that while it's nowhere near on the level of something like Red Dead or Spider-Man PS4, it's a very decent story. You're stranded on a high-tech dystopian island. I won't say any more to avoid spoilers, although you can probably see where it's going. As you play through, cutscenes slowly give you background information, which leads to a bit of character development, although I feel like it could have done with a lot more. As while the antagonist gets a pretty decent bit of development, the main character, Nomad, who you play as, doesn't end up with any depth. There is a but to this otherwise alright story, and that's its length and repetitiveness. At first the missions seem fun and reasonably unique, however after a couple of hours-ish things start to fall very quickly into a pattern, and it goes a bit like this. You find a person who gives you a lead, you then fast travel or spend 10 to 15 minutes in a helicopter to get there, you then infiltrate a base, house or compound, find some intel and then take it back to the person. Now this would have been perfectly fine if this was a mission type which cropped up every couple of hours or so, however at least 90% of the missions are pretty much this format, which is a shame and there is no exaggeration in that statement. There are however other missions to break it up, and they are a bit more original and my god is it a relief when you get one, although they're just not frequent enough. One good thing about the missions though is when game mechanics do actually work together, as you can go in full stealth with night vision and a sniper, or choose to land your chopper right in the middle of the base and walk in with your LMG, or you can just do this. The size of the map also allows for a lot of diversity when it comes to base design, which does at least make the missions somewhat unique. Overall though, the lack of originality became tedious for me. It feels like they had a half decent story, but then dragged it out with a quantity over quality methodology, which I'd say is the game's biggest flaw. There are also a decent few side missions, although many of these just follow that same pattern, so they're hardly worth your time. Overall, Ghost Recon Breakpoint left me with very mixed feelings. The repetitiveness of the missions was certainly the main reason for this, and it's a shame that other aspects of the game also just didn't work. Having said this, the gunplay is very strong, making for fun combat, although when you think about it, this is something we should probably come to expect from someone like Ubisoft. The game's strong point is definitely its variety of playstyles available, thanks mainly to a diverse map, ample vehicles and multiplayer options which let you play the game however you want. With the newly added Ghost Experience customization, you can also fine-tune many of the gameplay settings, which has allowed players to get rid of some of the features that were rather unpopular, such as gear score. Now it's clear to see that updates have brought this game a long way, but is it enough to make it worth buying? Well, it depends, at least in my opinion. If you haven't already played Ghost Recon Wildlands, then go and play that first, as it's by far the superior game. If you have already played it though, then yes, I will recommend this game, as long as you can alter your expectations. I would also heavily advise that you try and get it at the same time as a friend, as the experience is seriously improved if you can play co-op multiplayer.
Thanks.
Anyway, that's all for this video. If you have enjoyed it or found it useful, then a like or even a sub would be absolutely amazing. But that's all, so thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.